Bithlo is a poster child for neglect, and I'll admit it.
This is one of the poorest communities in the state of Florida. And it's right here in our backyard, and most of us didn't know about it.
A place that you felt safe. It's not a safe place. When the sun goes down, I don't want to be out here.
I always thought they were an underserved area and really almost a forgotten area. Bithlo was really a forgotten area.
In the middle of a junkyard might be zoned a school or a church or residential. And I guess the county's thought was over 500 years things will just work themselves out.
I was shocked when I heard the full story of Bithlo because I didn't think that many people lived there. And when I found out that it was over 8,000 people in really a pretty condensed area, I was shocked because I always saw Bithlo as I drove down Highway 50 on the way to the beach. And I would see the junkyards and an occasional trailer or whatever along the way, but that's all I thought it was. I had no idea that that many people lived there.
You know, just south side, just sporadic, little trailer parks, probably not even permitted. Safety tanks failing, bad water, you name it. They were kind of dealing with it.
The water's bad. The ground is contaminated. If you don't have the money to put a filter on your water, then you're drinking, you're bathing in, you're cooking with, you're swimming in a pool, or if you have one, that is contaminated water. And I know people who've died from cancer very often in Bithlo. A lot of people also get killed in Bithlo, but the ones who are dying so young, I am very suspicious of the water as being a cause for that.
You can literally go beside one of these hills of this landfill, 20, 30, 40 foot high, and next to it is maybe a mobile home or a small house, and you wonder what's in the water.
There's, a certain concept of Bithlo that may or may not be true, but it would be that undereducated, underserved, kind of a forgotten community with a lot of social issues.
Can you show me who's this and how do you know him?
Just stuff that he done.
Was it bad?
Yeah.
Yeah. Does he still live around here?
He's in jail right now for hitting a little kid. She comes to here sometimes when she wants to.
Oh, really? So does she still go to school here?
When she wants to, but usually she does whatever she wants. Her mom don't care what she does and stuff like that.
So she is how old now?
I don't know, probably 11.
And she doesn't come to school very often?
No.
Why do you think that she doesn't come to school? At 11, really? Is that pretty common here?
You're in Bithlo.
But you like most of the people? The ones that aren't in trouble?
They're all in trouble though.
Is that pretty common? Why do you think that it's so common for people around here to get in trouble?
It's not like they're in trouble, it's just like a lot of people in Bithlo do drugs.
You try and stay away from that, or is it hard?
I don't do them.
That's good.
Yeah.
Is it hard to find people who don't do drugs to be friends with?
Yeah.
What usually happens when they start doing stuff like that?
Yeah, that's their business. They do what they want to do.
The crime wasn't bad back when I was a kid. The cops wasn't bad. everybody helped everybody. Now it's like everybody's selfish, all about their self, you know. So, and that's how I feel, you know what I'm saying? My son loved me with all my heart, all his heart, you know. He was my angel. He protected me, you know, and I protect him, you know what I'm saying? One night changes my whole life. Yeah, that night he came here and he was telling me, Mom, I love you. And I was like, I love you too. I was like, Louis, why don't you just stay here? And Louis was like, Mom, I love you. I was like, well, I love you too, Lou, you know. And yeah, he left. You know, that night, I guess, a couple hours. Dylan came here, told me it was an accident. I was like, let's go see him. I want to go see my baby. Yeah, I can go see him. Yeah, he did fight him. They hit him with the head. I guess he got an argument with the kid or whatever. And then someone ran him over, thought he was a trash bag, I guess.
I'll tell you what, it was a mess. When her boyfriend lit her house on fire, he destroyed a lot of documents. Yeah, and so you know we had to sift through the ashes and see what we can find. You should see that. We had a whole room where we spread them out on the floor so they could dry. But some of them were burnt real badly. You know, we used what we could get because this is stuff that was all part of FEMA. When we had the hurricane, one of the power poles got damaged, so they couldn't really turn the power. Every time it would arc, so they really didn't want to put it on. And then after the hurricane, all the power was off for a while, so they didn't. What they want, she said, they came back to us again. They said, well, you know what, we're going to condemn the buildings. When they did that, they flipped the whole game. Now, where's she going to go? So now, you know, she said, well, wait a minute, man, we just can't up and go somewhere. We need, you know, I got property here, I got a manager, I got a property manager, you know. So she started negotiating with them, working it out to where they could get us a place to live, and that way we could come back on the property without having to stay here. Right now, the only reason why I stay here is because most of our stuff is in here in my truck. Because if I wasn't here, they'd steal her well motor.
I didn't know it was a crack house.
Why did you have to go there?
Two of our students were living there, and they didn't come to open house, and I thought, well, I'll take you your book bag. 3 of our students live here, and I think they're out there right now. We'll say hello to them. Oh, roll the window down. I know you! What have you got there? What are you doing?
It's our wagon.
It's your wagon. I love it.
That looks great.
Bithlo, it's almost like time stood still, you know?
Back in the 1910s and 20s, Bithlo was more booming than the city of Orlando, if you can even imagine. Real estate developers from Boston were selling hot properties, moved to sunny Bithlo, Florida, and the city started to explode. So in order to keep up with that rapid growth, the city took out bonds to pay for that infrastructure. Well, as the national economy collapsed at the end of the 20s, people stopped closing on real estate, and therefore the city of Bithlo could no longer make their bond payments. And so, worse than going out of business as a city, Bithlo stayed an incorporated city, but about 1941 stopped even electing city councilmen and mayors. So from 1941 until the 1970s, there was literally no rule of law. So if you weren't allowed to have a junkyard or a dump, or you didn't want to be told how to set up a trailer park or a gas station in Orlando or in Winter Park or in unincorporated Orange County, you did it in the 12 square miles, which is Bithlo.
Well, the legislature can incorporate cities or unincorporate cities, and Bithlo was really flailing about. They really didn't have a tax base, which was the most important thing. They didn't have commercial buildings. They didn't have real estate of significant value. Again, it was mostly some small homes built over the years. Mostly it was single wides and double wide trailers. They had a volunteer fire department. They had essentially what I would call a volunteer mayor. And they were just not doing well at all. So the legislature decided to basically dissolve, unincorporate what was a city, the entity of Bithlo. So that was the issue, is to basically incorporate it into the county. So the county's services, it was in detention, would be then extended out, whether it be law enforcement, sewage, water. Of course, sewage and water never happened. What was told to those people at the time in Bithlo is that we will bring you into the county and you will benefit by the county-wide tax base, and you'll have emergency transport, paramedic needs, and you'll have, law enforcement out there too. And that was kind of the deal, the trade-off. And a number of the people from Bithlo appeared at the delegation meeting and opposed passing the legislation, but we passed it.
Now Orange County had no choice but to be responsible for this jurisdiction. Unfortunately, there were already hundreds of acres of junkyards, illegal dumps, gas stations that had leaky gas tanks, trailer parks set up wrong, septic tanks too close to your wells. I mean, just a hodgepodge of things that weren't right. So I guess, not for lack of a better plan, Orange County just basically laid zoning over Bithlo as if it were a blank field. So in the middle of a junkyard might be zoned a school or a church or residential. And I guess the county's thought was, over 500 years things will just work themselves out. The only problem with that is we don't have 500 years to work things out, because thousands of people are living in this community suffering the consequences of a failed government system.
First went out there in the 90s when Linda Chapin was county mayor, and we were doing a project called Targeted Community Initiatives. It was really to go to areas that had been neglected. Regardless of past history, let's move forward and do the right thing and try to instill services out there and instill a little bit of confidence in their government. Because at that point there was none. I mean, we'd send mosquito trucks out and they get shot at. I mean, they literally would get shot at. Or animal control trucks, they get shot at. And it's not a good thing, It's not a good thing. And so we didn't want that to happen anymore. So we wanted to do a couple things. First is to kind of get a feel for the community and how they wanted it. And we did some visioning to see what they kind of saw as what their community should look like. And the first thing they would say is, well, we want a grocery store. Secondly, they said, we would really like to have a doctor. They're miles and miles away from the closest medical doctor or hospital. So then we'd like to have a park. The park would be good for our kids, someplace to play instead of on the streets and dirt roads.
Are you ready for the country? No, it is not my decision to go. Pull up the stakes, open your eyes when they're closed, and we'll spend the least and make the most. Oh, the things that you say are clay pigeons for the range, filling up a gulch of things forgotten. The world is not blessed with your elephants.
Gotten bigger? Like, are there more grocery stores?
No.
No,
Bithlo is really not. I mean, in the outlying areas of Bithlo, and I want to almost say the suburbs of Bithlo, you've got grocery stores moving in and drugstores moving in, but downtown, if I would call it a downtown Bithlo, still that you don't have that kind of commercial growth.
I had a clinic out there many, many years ago. It kind of failed, and I didn't get a whole lot of support for it. It was kind of, let's put it in, see what happens. And
why did it fail?
It just wasn't. It was only part-time, and the location wasn't as good, and there's just a number of issues, and I don't think it really wasn't high on anybody's list.
Well, unfortunately, or fortunately, in politics, it's really all about advocacy. Really, it's all about leadership. You know, leadership. Can you, somebody once said, leadership is, solving crises, but sometimes leadership is creating a crisis. By that, what I mean is you have to define the issue. It was a very quiet place since 1974. They really didn't have a county commissioner that was sufficiently vocal, in my opinion, about the needs of the people in Bithlo. And it really took an advocacy group like Global Outreach to really kind of define the problem, define the crisis, and then hopefully convince the elected officials to respond to the crisis.
We do in class, we do math, we do sentences, we do A and R and R.
Coffee, chocolate or
broccoli flowers.
I always put you first. That may be the worst or the best thing. I don't believe in sin or gambling.
A lot of things need to be done, and it really called for, there was a void for social advocacy in that community, and Global Outreach really met that need.
When this first started, I met Tim for coffee, and I didn't really want to because I was afraid he was going to ask me for money. I was the director of government and community relations at the time, and that wasn't what he wanted. He just wanted to talk about what he was doing, and I was very impressed.
All of these problems are solvable. Nobody had been working to solve them in a really comprehensive way, and so we started to bring together the partners that could.
Bithlo is a community that is in our backyard that really needs additional assistance and transformation. And Florida Hospital, our business is helping people to live a whole and a full life. And there are significant needs here from infrastructure that we want to join with the community, and they have multiple other partners that we're going to be able to collaborate with.
Florida Hospital wanted to have a local footprint kind of a project, and our COO was very interested in doing that. So we approached the COO, and he said, yes, this is a great local mission project, but I'll tell you how this is going to be. First of all, we're not going to be the leader. United Global Outreach will be the leader, and we will support you in the work that you're doing in Bithlo. And secondly, it's not just about money. We may provide some funding for different things along the way, but our real effort will be to leverage our business and community and educational partners and political partners and bring them to the table around the Bithlo effort.
This is a complete dentist's office on wheels. Florida Hospital funds it to provide free dental care to people in Bithlo. The patients there fondly call the woman who manages this place the Tooth Fairy.
We knew we didn't have the ability to solve any problem. We knew as an organization we had the skills to leverage relationships with those that did have the ability to solve problems. United Global Outreach leverages partnerships, so we're kind of like the coach of the team. So we bring together academic partnerships, business partnerships, faith and civic partnerships, volunteerism, public and private partnerships, and then just to generally leveraging a community grassroots effort around seeing this community that for so many decades was ignored and overlooked no more.
Well, when was the last time you considered heading to Bithlo for a night on the town? You might one day, thanks to volunteers who aren't even from the area. Eyewitness News at 10's Ken Tyndall has more on the work that's underway right now to help Bithlo thrive.
We looked at 9 areas that needed to be addressed in Bithlo that are working right in some of our other, quote, healthy, desirable communities. And so we focused simultaneously on education, transportation, housing, basic needs, which include social services, healthcare, the environment, economic opportunity, and the arts and athletics, and then the most important of the 9 being building a sense of community.
So what Tim's doing, he's laying the groundwork now for kind of a city center, I think, or a town center. And so when I went out there and talked to him, then I went back and I talked to my folks at the community health center and said, look, if we want to stay true to our mission as a community health center, then we should look to put a clinic out there, because there's nothing. I mean, they're miles and miles away from the closest medical doctor or hospital. So we bought the land and we put a modular out there, and they have a clinic.
Evaluating what's happening in other communities and the great work that's been happening for many decades in some of our most challenged communities across this country, one of the immediate takeaways was there seems to be a disconnect between the tens of millions of dollars spent, the wonderful people with all the right intentions, best of intentions trying to solve problems, and why still we don't have transformed communities. I mean, Head Start's a wonderful example of a program started to try to give kids, quote, the head start on an education, but now we've had Head Start around long enough where the graduates of Head Start are sending their kids to Head Start. So what didn't go right to not allow that cycle to be broken? And I think the key ingredient that was missing is relationships.
Pick the words that you want to use and build your story around it. Okay, you've got I think a lot of them have walls built up and they don't trust people easily. It takes time to build relationships with them. The school was started in 2010. It was originally designed to provide a school where students who were slipping through the cracks at the larger schools like East River and Corner Lakes in Columbia, which are schools close to us, they were so big that some of our students couldn't make it there. It was overwhelming with just the number of people and social issues that they had to face. We have about 50 students here at Orange County Academy, and they're all just so adorable, and I just want them to have a chance. But I think that they're perceived as being bad kids and kids who will fight, mean kids, kids who've grown up without much parent interaction.
When you break down their walls, though, how do they act towards you?
It's wonderful. They're very caring. They want to be loved. They want to improve their situation in life. They want to have a decent life.
We're just convinced that at some point you're going to be born in Bithlo and you're not going to need a program. You're just going to have a healthy opportunity and an equal opportunity to succeed, just like anyone else born into a, quote, normal, healthy community.
Now we have 3 students in college. Kelly just finished her first year at Valencia, and she's on the dean's list, which is like, wow.
Smile. Or you look scared.
Now I have 2 more that are ready to go and have been accepted and have all their funding sources in order. So we're very, very proud of that fact, and it does lend credibility to us when we have students who graduated. We can get this done. We take the whole school to graduation. We want them to see, I can do this. I can graduate. I can go on to college, where they may never have thought that possible before. Their success is my payback for my investment. It's a wonderful thing.
If you look at 1974 and 2018 and say, okay, in this desert called Bithlo, a very low socioeconomic strata poverty. They still don't have public water services, and they still don't have sewage treatment. So this county still owes a lot to those people in Bithlo to make sure they're treated as well as people are around the county. Advocacy is such an important role to be played, particularly in today's time.
We've had 100 partners come together now in really unprecedented ways, leveraging, again, their own expertise at the right place at the right time.
You know, I can go to some of the churches and say, oh, well, we need new science books or something, and they'll get them for us. There are people out there who want to help, who want to maybe help financially or help with their time and talents.
You know, it's about doing the right thing for this community and recognizing that there's such need there, and just saying, I can't just live with letting this be the way it is or not helping.
It's about providing every person an equal opportunity to succeed. And that hasn't happened in Bithlo for decades, and now we've got a really united focus on making sure that Bithlo is as prioritized as any other community.
It's a question of fairness, it's a question of parity. Look at the services provided countywide and measure those against the services, the level of services being provided to people in Bithlo, and ask the public policy question, is it fair? Are we treating these people with equity?
No longer do we have to be content with just treating the symptoms of poverty, but if we all come together, we can actually be a part of solving poverty in our toughest neighborhoods.
I'll meet you out there, okay? All right. Bye.
in the headlines. It's a politician song. Hey, mercy, take your toll. Wait till it's all died.